Something was happening behind closed doors with the Indiana Fever that nobody was supposed to know about. While fans waited desperately for updates on Caitlin Clark's return, while the organization kept feeding the public vague statements about day-to-day evaluations, one teammate accidentally revealed what was really going on. This wasn't some calculated leak or strategic information drop. This was someone speaking honestly about what she was witnessing every single day, and what she said changes everything we thought we knew about Clark's absence. Picture this scenario. Your team's biggest star, the player everyone's asking about, shows up to the facility every single day with a smile on her face, cracking jokes, bringing positive energy. She's mentally prepared, emotionally engaged, and clearly believes she could play at any moment. That's not the behavior of someone who's nowhere near ready to return. That's the behavior of someone who's been told to stay ready because her number could be called. But here's where the story takes a dark turn, where an innocent comment from a teammate exposes something the organization definitely didn't want revealed.
She stated she just continued to show up every day. She is not in our film room sessions. She is not in our film room sessions.
Let that sink in for a moment. Film room sessions are where teams prepare for opponents, where they break down game tape, where they study tendencies and develop strategy. These aren't physically demanding activities, they're mental preparation. If Clark was truly working toward a return, if the organization genuinely believed she might play again that season, why would she be excluded from the one-team activity that requires zero physical exertion? This detail, dropped casually in an interview, reveals a contradiction that the Fever organization has never adequately explained. The timing of this revelation makes it even more damaging. This wasn't said after Clark was officially ruled out for the season. This came out on August 30th, weeks before any final decision was announced. A teammate was inadvertently admitting that while the public was being told Clark was day-to-day, while fans were buying tickets hoping to see their superstar return, the reality inside that building was completely different.
I'm just proud of her and her resilience through it this year. Hopefully, we'll see her back out there.
The word hopefully carries so much weight in that statement. This isn't confidence from someone who knows the medical timeline or understands the rehab process. This is uncertainty from someone who sees Clark every day but has no idea what the organization's actual plans are. A teammate shouldn't have to hope, she should know. The fact that even Clark's own teammates were left guessing about her status tells us everything we need to know about how this situation was really being handled. The picture becomes even more troubling when you examine what the coaching staff was saying publicly versus what was actually happening behind the scenes. While Stephanie White was giving carefully crafted statements to the media about medical decisions and long-term health, the reality of how this situation was being managed tells a completely different story. The contradictions in the official narrative become impossible to ignore when you line up the timeline of events with what teammates were actually witnessing day after day. White's statement about running out of time doesn't match the reality of what was happening inside that building. If Clark was working her butt off to get back, if she was collaborating on her return, why was she simultaneously being excluded from basic team activities like film sessions? The coach wants us to believe this was about safety and medical precaution, but her own players were painting a different picture. They were describing someone who was present, engaged, and mentally prepared, not someone who was struggling with her recovery or hesitant about returning. The most revealing aspect of White's public comments is how they focus on organizational decision-making rather than Clark's actual physical condition. Notice the language, "We've kind of run out of time, and we just ran out of time to get her there." This isn't medical terminology. This isn't a doctor explaining why a patient isn't ready. This is an organization making a business decision and trying to frame it as a medical one. The claim about being open and upfront becomes laughable when you consider what teammates were actually observing. How can you claim transparency when your own players are describing a situation where Clark shows up every day ready to contribute but is systematically excluded from team preparation? The disconnect between what White was telling the media and what was actually happening creates a credibility gap that the organization has never adequately addressed. But the most damaging evidence comes from examining the coach's emotional framing of the decision. White wanted the public to believe this was a difficult choice that caused disappointment and frustration for everyone involved. Yet if this was truly a medical decision based on Clark's inability to safely return, why would it be emotionally difficult? Medical decisions are straightforward. Either someone is cleared to play or they're not. The phrase, "have to ultimately make this decision," is the smoking gun. Medical clearance isn't a decision that coaches make. It's a determination that medical professionals make. The fact that White frames this as a choice rather than a medical necessity reveals everything about how this situation was really handled. This wasn't about Clark's physical readiness or safety concerns. This was about an organization making a calculated decision and using injury concerns as cover.